values from 2024, and the budget draws 1.1 million from reserves to support a reasonable tax rate. There are 2.6 million increase in operational costs and 42 million in capital projects, including 2 projects carried forward from 2024. Amortization is excluded at this time, just for clarity. The next slide indicates this project not only maintains the existing service level, it includes the following programs within the scope of this 2025 operating budget. Each general manager will walk you through the major operating programs included in their budgets, starting with corporate services.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. So I'll start off with the Hillendale infrastructure assessments. We talked about that in the last budget workshop, so we need to get in there and we need to take a look at the infrastructure underground just to make sure that it's okay and it can support further development. So that's what that $50,000 is for. Excuse me. So next under planning, we're going to do a municipal development plan revision. I'm learning a lot in my new role, and I've learned that we need to update that document to coincide with our new land use bylaw. So we've budgeted for that. I've also learned that orthophoto needs to be updated every 3 to 5 years. It's just a topographical planning photography exercise that needs to be done. So we're budgeting to do that. In economic development, we have some new initiatives that we're proposing. So and they're all grant dependent. So the first one's Invest Edson. So it's a web page or online hub that will serve as a dynamic platform aimed at attracting businesses, investors, and new residents to the town of Edson. The website will be designed to showcase Edson's unique advantage, highlight available opportunities, and provide easy access to relevant resources for businesses, families considering relocation and investment. The next economic development program is the Ambassador Program. So the Ambassador Program empowers the individuals who shape the heart and soul of our town, those who live, work, and play in Edson. From baristas to retail staff, our frontline workers are the first point of contact for visitors and potential new residents, offering a genuine taste of Edson's charm. So essentially, it's sort of like a social media. If you've ever watched any of those type of videos where people say, "Hey, I'm here at Canada Day," it'll be that type of thing where people can engage with the public in that way. The next one's the Community Improvement Program. So the Downtown Edson Community Program seeks to revitalize the town's central business district, creating a more inviting, vibrant, and attractive space for both residents and visitors. By focusing on visual improvements, increasing foot traffic, and encouraging tourism, this initiative aims to build momentum towards long-term investment and sustainable growth in Edson's downtown core. This idea is grant dependent as well. There's 3 grants we're applying for. There's the NRED grant, there's the Travel Alberta grant. There's actually an SCOP grant that's strictly for the Ambassador Program. The last economic development project is to upgrade some of our promotional videos and photos. So the project aims to create high quality promotional photos and videos to market Edson effectively, attract new businesses, and draw residents and tourists. The initiative aligns with the town of Edson's strategic objectives to support local businesses, enhance investment readiness, and boost the community's visibility. That's what we have for economic development. And then we discussed the municipal intern under human resources before, so that's what that budget line's there for. Do you have any questions?
All right, so council, do you have any questions for Mr. Chapates on corporate services and the initiatives that are brought forward in this budget? Go ahead, Councillor Chachka.
Thanks. Through the chair to Mr. Chapates. A question is regarding the municipal development plan revision. I'm just curious at, the cost is $200,000, and when I kind of compare that to the cost of our land use bylaw, it just seems really substantial. So I'm just wondering what, how comprehensive is it?
I might need help, Clayton. And it's pretty. I think we sort of think it won't go. It definitely won't be over $200,000.
Go ahead, Mr. Kitlitz.
Yeah. So I think from my perspective, this is a rewrite of our municipal development plan. I mean, it is, I think it's a 2016 version, if I'm not mistaken. So it's right around that 10-year mark. Typically, municipal development plans, every 5 years you do a bit of a refresh, and every 10 years it's a rewrite. Okay. I think when we first added this to the capital plan, the $200,000 was what we put on there. The land use pilot did end up being a $200,000 project in the end. I don't think it'll be that much either. So there probably is some room for us to adjust that if council wishes, but I would say probably in the 100 to 130-ish range would be okay as well.
Is there something you want to supplement, Ms.
This project is supplemented by a draw from reserves. So reducing it doesn't have an impact on any municipal levy increase.
Okay, follow-up, Councillor Chachka?
Yes, through the chair to Mr. Kitlitz. Thank you for that. I'm not interested in changing the dollar amount. I was just curious more of what it was for. So the dollar amount is fine. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Taylor?
Yeah, through the mayor to Mr. Shapates. Just looking at the, I think the community improvement program. Essentially, is that like a downtown beautification program? Is that the way you're describing it?
Through the chair to Councillor Taylor, yes.
Okay. Just follow. And they say they're grant dependent. Do we already have grants like earmarked that they'd like the administration would like to apply for, or is that if they come up in the new year? And is it? My understanding is it's several grants, not one grant for all of it. Is that correct?
Through the chair to Councillor Taylor, yes, that's correct. I think at the next council meeting, you're gonna see us with two. We're looking for council support on 2 of the grant applications. We have to get them in before the end of the year.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions for Mr. Shapates? Seeing none, thank you very much, and we'll hand things back over to Ms. McDonald.
And I'll pass it on for infrastructure and operations for GM Clayton Kitlitz. Is that right?
Yeah. Thank you, Ms. McDonald, Mayor and Council. So we have 4 new enhancement initiatives for this budget. The first is a lane paving pilot program, we're calling it. As council is aware, there are a number of our lanes, and we're focusing on the commercial corridor, I would call, along the Highway 16 East and West at 4th and 2nd Avenue, between, and then along the edges of each. The focus is to try to take, we're thinking 2, maybe 3 if we get some good pricing, regrade and pave 2 to 3 lanes a year, and see how that works. We're obviously focusing on the ones that cause us the most grief, where we get the most reported problems on. There's a couple that I think probably council's aware of that we get quite a few calls on every year to maintain. So the idea is to try to start tackling these 1 or 2 a year and see how it goes. The second item is the snow removal contracted service for parking lots. So if council recalls, our roads snow and ice control policy list facility parking lots as the 5th priority, meaning we have to get through a lot of other priorities before we can tackle these. The transportation staff do try to tackle them when they can in between events to try to clear them off as soon as possible. But the truth is they don't get done very soon. And so what we have is situations where, like the leisure center or the food bank, it may be days before they get their snow cleared after an event. Probably not the best level of service. So this $50,000 is to hire this out as a contracted services. Benefits are you can get the snow cleared a lot sooner. In most cases, contractors can come in at 2 or 3 in the morning or 4 in the morning and do it before the facility's open. So that's what that $50,000 are for. The other thing that doesn't complicate it, but it's added, is the library is now open, and Griffiths Park has been added to that list as well now that it's open. So it's harder and harder for us to get to those in a timely manner. Wildlife management. For the last 2 years, we've spent between $20,000 and $25,000 on beaver control on Bench and Wasp Creek. We just kind of tried to absorb this within our existing budgets for the last couple of years. So this year we've added it as a line item just to reflect that expense. We assume that we're going to have to continue to do that every year. Last year was quite a big year. I think we chased them all the way down to the McLeod River almost. We were a long ways down, so. And then finally, the backflow and sump pump program, it says $100,000, it is 50 in the last 2 years' budget, so we've increased it at $50,000 to $100,000 total, so it's a $50,000 increase over last year. So this was something we talked about when we brought an update up in the spring. We asked council just to hold the line for right now to see how the uptake was, but the uptake has been really good. I think, what are the numbers if I can remember? We're up to about, actually I got a note for myself so I can tell you what the numbers are. 2023 there was 28 backflows installed and 2 sumps. If you recall, in 2023 the sump program came on late in the year, so we had 2 before the end of the year. And then in 2024 there were 11 backflows and 30 sumps. Now this is the ones that were completed. There's still applications in the queue. In terms of money, for backflows, there's been $43,000 of funding used out of the 50, and for sumps it's about 26,000. So, and the program seems to be really going well. So we felt it was time to increase it.
All right, thank you, Mr. Kitlitz. Questions for Mr. Kitlitz on infrastructure and operations?
Just had to circle him and he answered him for me. Thank you.
Go ahead, Councillor Taylor.
Through the mayor to Mr. Kitlitz, looking at the parking lots with a contractor. Obviously, I think you would like to use local contractors, of course. And are you planning on using one contractor and negotiating that ahead of time, or multiple throughout? And just in your negotiation process, is that something you do ahead of time, or is that you do as needed as you need them in terms of snowfalls?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, no, we would put out a request for proposals or a tender for a contractor to bid on all.
And just one, okay. All right, thank you.
Council, any further questions for Mr. Kitlitz? Go ahead, Councillor Bevan.
Through the chair, to Clayton there, on your lane paving program and that, I know there's other lanes that are in really bad shape, you know, and one is behind the car wash. I know you guys put some fill in there before, which was actually held up really, really great. Is there any chance that when Highway 16, when they start taking all that up, they come out the machine, they pick it up and it's really fine? What do they do with that? Can we get any of that to throw in our back lanes or anything like that to kind of pack it, or do they just take it and use themselves to throw it away?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, so I'm not sure what the highway program is going to be, whether they're going to mill that or remove it. I know if you talk to our transportation manager, he would love to have some asphalt millings, a stockpile in the yard for that reason, to help with some of these lanes. And so if we can get our hands on some, definitely that's in our plan, but I can't say for sure whether we'll be able to get any off the highway project or not. But we talk about it with some of our capital projects. If there is an opportunity to mill some material, we would like to have some of that material for that case. So we'll do what we can.
Councillor Chenard.
Through the mayor to Councillor Bevan, the milling all goes back to asphalt and it's reused. At one time it was spread out, but not anymore. It's all reused at this time.
All right, Council, any further questions, comments, or concerns? Just to Mr. Kitlitz, I'm really happy to see the new lane paving pilot program in place. We'll see how that goes. I was expecting more budget requests than that, so we'll have to see how those bids come in. But we certainly have a lot of lanes, especially in our commercial corridor, that need some attention, and I'm excited to see that. And as you know, I've been advocating for contractors to do our parking lots for several snow seasons now, so I think that will help with the level of service, especially widely used facilities like the leisure center, which when it's not cleared in a timely fashion, it creates other issues as well. But our focus needs to be on town streets. So I thank you for that. And very excited to hear the uptake on the backflow prevention program. I think that's going to help us dramatically, along with the wildlife management and flooding concerns within our community. So that's fantastic. I guess we'll hand things over now to Mr. Wagstaff for Community and Protective Services.
The first one being the police contract. We have increased that per the multi-year financial plan, and including the percentage increase that we are expecting for pay raises across the RCMP, which will be reflected then in our contract. Fire grant contingent, a Fire Smart program. We want to continue that, important for our community. We are seeking different grant opportunities, and hopefully those will come through so that we can continue with that program in 2025. FCSS Community Needs Assessment. The last one was done in 2014, and a lot has changed in the last 10 years. We'd like to update that. That is a contract that we would have out. Also in that time, we have lost provincially parent link funding, which has impacted the early childhood portions of preventative programs in the communities. So a program, or sorry, a community needs assessment will help us be able to make some of those decisions and guide both administration and council in the types of programming that we're going to be offering. Also with public transportation, that's a community Edson grant. This on behalf of the board with Moving Edson, they've provided us a request to increase their grant funding. That's tied to a couple of different things. They have been seeing, this is the positive part, they've been seeing a significant increase in their usage over the last 3 years. It's been continually growing year over year. With that usage comes some of the increased costs, and that's expected to continue, that increased usage. They've also expanded their service mandate. And through their strategic planning, they've been positioning themselves to do more than just the transportation of seniors. And that's, as we've heard at council and in the community, the name change from the Seniors Transportation Society to Moving Edson is reflective of that. And with that comes some of their greater needs to have support. And that falls to their last part of the request in the financial stability. They are very active in finding funds to support their operations, and their budget relies on a great deal of uncertainty with that grant funding. 76% of their income comes from what they consider unverified sources. So they're hoping to draw that down to have a little bit more stability in this operating grant and reduce the dependence on some of that unverified income. And create some stability for them moving forward. The community grants program is something that we've heard from council to take some consideration for. This. Many municipalities have a variety of grants to support their community groups, and as we've seen the ad hoc requests come in, we would like to propose having 3 streams of funding around sport hosting, event hosting, and operational subsidies for a cross-section of our community to promote that positive community projects that go on that we know come from time to time, and this would create a formalized way for those groups to come forward and not be in an ad hoc manner. And we would be able to incorporate that in our current granting structure and come to council with a robust grants policy that would coordinate this. And then the last part is the warming center. The warming center, it was proposed by council as we've been working through the fall. It appears at this point in time that there will be a viable alternative, but we still have it in the budget in case it's needed. We want to make sure that we have planned out for that, and this is the cost that would still be maintained if we had to operate it fully for the remainder of the winter in 2025.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Wagstaff, for your presentation. Council, any questions for Mr. Wagstaff for items under community and protective services? Councillor Taylor.
Through the mayor, no questions, just a comment. Just happy to see the community needs assessment. I know the FCSS board is looking at strategic planning that we're going to be doing in February. So this will tie in really well in terms of setting those plans and priorities of what the board sees as needs in our community as well. So I think it's a good tie-in. And with the public transportation, I know I do have people asking about public transportation, very similar to Hinton's or whatever. I'm always happy that we have a nonprofit group wanting to provide that. And I've said it before, if we ended up having to provide that as a municipality, it would cost us a heck of a lot more than the what's it? Sorry, I missed 125,000. It would cost us probably 600,000 to run it or more. So happy to see when a nonprofit group wants to do that and open up their services to more. So that's my comments.
Councillor Chenard?
Through the chair to Mr. Wagstad, similar to Councillor Taylor, I'm pleased to see the moving Edson. I remember when it was 30,000, but I can tell you the 125 is well spent and their services have increased. There's days there's 3 buses out keeping up, so it's money well spent, just comment.
Thank you. Any further questions, comments, concerns? To Mr. Wagstaff, obviously policing continues to drive our budget numbers up over the last several years. I'm glad to see that we have allocated funds for the pay increases. I am assuming through our previous budget discussions, and just to confirm, this increase does include the projected costs for new equipment for the RCMP that have been provided in their financial summaries. And this maintains our current level of service with 17 regular members for the municipal detachment.
Yes, these numbers we've gone back and looked at, compared them with the multi-year financial plan to ensure that those were included.
All right, thank you very much. Ms. McDonald?
Thank you. Just to clarify, the RCMP contract total amount for the 17 positions is $3,192,000. We have reduced the contract by $98,000 as typically we do not receive 17 positions, and we have I would say we're comfortable with this number, because if we take the full 17 amount and divide it by 17 positions, it would be a difference of $187,000. So we're comfortable that this amount will cover the contracted amount for 2025-26, because a police year is different than our year. And so we've taken that also into account. However, we can also revisit this in the spring adjustments to consider if it's not accurate. We're comfortable with the number at this point.
All right, thank you for the clarification. I'm just happy that we're not reducing the level of service. Obviously, we sometimes we do have overage on members depending on how transfers happen, but lately we have seen a reduction there. So I'm glad that you've adjusted those numbers accordingly. My other concern is when it comes to photo radar revenue, there's a lot of conjecture that photo radar will be going away, and that's going to significantly impact revenues to offset policing costs. So to Mr. Wagstaff, have we thought about how we're going to deal with that? I don't think there's a desire around this table, and I could be wrong, that we want to reduce level of service of policing, but we're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars of potentially lost revenue. So this is a concerning item for me, not only for this budget, but future budgets, especially if we get told, like the city of Edmonton was this last year, without any notice, that photo radar is going bye-bye on some of the roadways.
Yes, we have taken some looks at contingencies of how we would adjust the officers in the community peace officers and their role. Not budget related, but proud to be able to share with council that we do have the authorities in place now for our second CPO. So that would help. If that was still outstanding, that would certainly have an impact. But it will have an impact on our where we're focusing our attention elsewhere in the community. But there are plans in play to how we would adjust if necessary.
All right, thank you, Mr. Wagstaff, for that. Council, any further questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, we will hand things over to CAO Christine Beveridge.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will begin this small item, but a very important item. It's no secret to council that we're decades behind with records management. Records management has been a bone of contention with this administration for quite some time. It's caused us a lot of challenges over the period of time. And I think that it's pretty critical at this moment that this initiative is considered seriously. The records management program would develop a modernized records management system that ensures our records are accurate, secure, and easily accessible. This system will integrate electronic information best practices at allowing us to effectively manage, protect, preserve, and release records. Key benefits include improved document and data searchability, automated retention schedules, enhanced service for the public, and reduced information silos. This project also encompasses improvement of processes, and that includes reporting and tracking of strategic and corporate and developmental plans, as well as the framework for bylaw and policy management, contracts agreement, and of course, FOIP requests. Additionally, the system will allow us to also automate forms and map processes and create an effective executive reporting system. This robust information infrastructure would essentially streamline many of our administrative tasks across the organization. So this all in, not only does this help us internally, but this also affects, our external stakeholders when we're trying to provide information, where we're trying to allow for processes to be easily accessible for our residents. Effective records management is essential for municipal success, preserving collective memory, building public trust, and enhancing decision-making. It saves time and resources, and by providing a consistent documentation framework, improving retrieval efficiency. A clear framework will also strengthen the institutional resiliency during staffing changes or other disruptions such as emergencies or other unprecedented situations. So with that, noting it's $148,000 for the implementation of this initial program, and also for 2026, $127,000. That includes licensing, the program itself, training. It's a fairly robust system in itself. There are many communities moving forward with this type of a system that is creating efficiencies, and it's been in, as far as our research goes, for probably about a year and a half, we're seeing a very large uptake towards a system like what we're considering looking at. So I'm happy to answer any other questions you may have.
Thank you. Council, any questions for CO Beveridge on records management? Certainly been something we've talked about quite a bit. It is, quite frankly, been a disaster. And I don't think the public understands how hard it is to get information when people are asking questions, as they're stored in different areas, filed in different ways. And the thing that I think is most concerning to me is that our community was faced with some tremendous challenges last year, and if something would have changed and we would have been in a situation where this building, for example, would have been lost, we would have lost everything. And that is that would be very challenging for municipality to come back from that with those records. So with this system, CO Beverage, so there will be backup like on the cloud, so that for example, if we were faced with another situation like that, that you'd be able to access those documents from a remote location and continue with the business operations for the municipality.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That's an excellent question. I should have actually provided that information as well. What this system also does is essentially, it moves to electronic. It really moves us out of the paper-based processes that we have, which is horrifying to some, but it is very much, and it's backed up as well, like throughout that, it's cloud-based.
Thank you. Councillor Chachka.
Thanks, through the chair to Ms. Beveridge. So this sounds great. You know, as a counselor, I'm not in-house, so I don't see those day-to-day things, but I've heard things like CCANs and boxes and more than once, and trying to locate documents that way. So I guess, you know, it's a large amount of money, but I absolutely am happy to see this coming. It's something, since the first year of being on council, I heard that this was a problem. And so I guess I'm just commenting here. I'm not, you know, I think it's a lot of money, right? It's a huge amount. But it kind of reminds me of moving from, like, you know, photo Kodak cameras to like digital cameras, is the way I guess I'm thinking about that. And I just kind of want to make sure I'm on the, you know, right track with that analogy.
Through to Councillor Chachka, the system that we are investigating is exactly that. It's revolutionary, I would say. That would be the words I would use as far as our research with regards to what it can do. And like, as I mentioned, it's not only just the records management piece. The forms automation and the workflow processes are things that, you know, just an example. And the other aspects of it is you know, something as simple as dog licenses. Essentially, it can be an automated process where it's not someone remembering to, okay, schedule that you're going to send out the dog license, it sends out the invoices. Like, there's a lot of key things that are like, which, again, we haven't fed it all through finance, we haven't fed it all through, but, you know, it works. It's working in other communities, it's working for other permitting. It's pretty unreal, actually, the possibilities of what it can do and efficiencies. And what we in our research also that we're finding is that people are not necessarily hiring individuals for records management anymore. That's something that has been gone by the wayside, if you will, because of the systems. You may need, you know, assistance with the work to get it into the system, but once the training and you have your key individuals trained on the program, essentially, if you don't have to touch it twice. Essentially, you can file it with ease. Managers, GMs, CIO can be filing rather than other individuals. And it's not to say we take away, but it just alleviates and would create efficiencies in other ways for individuals to do other work as well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's great.
Council, any other questions? Councillor Moore?
Through the chair to CAO Beveridge. What are the chances of a system like this getting hacked?
Through the chair to Councillor Moore, about the same as it would be for any other system. We have systems in place for cybersecurity. You know, I'm not through the process. Most definitely, our IT services will be involved in ensuring that we have the highest security possible. But that's a risk we have with every system that we have in place.
I would say probably less likely than somebody breaking into the CCAN and stealing all the information. But as a part of your response to Councillor Chachka, CEO Beveridge, it kind of cued a question for me. And, you know, over the years we have implemented programs in place here at the municipality to bring us into the 21st century. Report here about 6 months ago that you know we talk about our infrastructure and getting data in, and it's that hasn't been happening because we don't have necessarily the or haven't had the capacity to do that. So are we confident that we have the capacity, or are we going to be looking at a budget request mid-year asking for some staffing to help with this?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for your question. I'm very confident in our staffing to be able to handle this. That was a part of an adjustment that I made to a position earlier this year that it would allow for this type of, in preparation for this, of understanding the assessment of our current state.
Perfect. Thank you, CEO Beveridge. Council, any further questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, we'll hand things back over to Ms. McDonald.
Thank you, Mayor. Before you, we have the operating, just to go back to the operating revenue. So here's the detailed data for transparency purposes. Our total revenue before transfers is sitting at 37.6 million and 40.2 million after transfers.
Just gonna stop you. We're on page 37, Council, if you're wondering where we're at. Please continue.
Okay. Then the next slide, as promised, a picture is worth 1,000 words. The graph shows you our major revenue and expenses. Major revenues in order of size include municipal taxes at 36%, user fees and sales of goods at 20%, other local governments, boards and agencies at 19%, and taxation collected on behalf of others for requisitions at 12%. Please note that at this time, we consider requisitions as static. We don't change the numbers because we're focusing strictly on the municipal side of things at this point. Under major expenses, salary, wages, and benefits are sitting at 36%. Contracted services are sitting at 32%. Requisitions, 13%. Materials and goods, 6%. When you look at the next slide is our operating expenses for the multiple years. And it includes including transfers, we're at 40 million for our total expenses. And this creates a small surplus in the event of assessment changes or unexpected losses. We also could use that at spring adjustments to adjust for any changes that we hadn't anticipated. If we can go to slide 38 is our operating revenue by fund. So this is the 2025 operating budget by the three funds, taxation, utilities, and land, and it compares it to the 2024 budget. The municipal taxes between the 2 years are calculating 1% here, and that is due to the changes we've made to the 2025 budget for tax incentive program to make it more transparent. So what you will see, why the difference only appears as 1% is we've put the tax incentive program as an expense, and it only shows up, in 2024, it was not budgeted for. It was budgeted for the full municipal taxes, and then the expense was applied against the actual. So as a result, we'll end up with a shortfall on our budget for municipal tax purposes. We feel that 2025 is a better way to show the tax incentive program more transparency, as well as we built the 2025 budget based on actuals, not on the 24 budget itself. So sometimes going backwards and comparing the 2 years doesn't work that well. On the next slide is our transfers from reserves. This table shows the detail of the transfer from reserve by department and by function, resulting in a drawdown of the operating reserves of 1.3 million. The next slide is our operating expenses by fund. This table shows our expenses by fund, so it breaks it down transparently, showing evidence that our revenues for user fees go to support the expenses for for utilities. Here it is easy to see that most of our debt currently falls in the utility funds and is supported by user fees more than the taxation. There is debentures under the taxation side that is supported by taxes, but it's much less than the debenture on the utility side. When we look at the next slide is our transfers to reserve. We have annual transfers to reserves based on our new reserve policy. The 2025 operating contribution is approximately 2.5 of the department's expenses. The next slide shows our transfers to reserves based on the new policy for the capital contributions, and it's approximately 6% of the department's expenses. And that the total together, operating and capital, is similar to the amount contributed to reserves in 2024. as we wanted to ensure that the new policy was similar to what we had budgeted for in 2024. However, if you will recall the reserves graph earlier in our budget workshop, where our draw from reserves are at risk of being depleted more quickly than we are contributing, this may be an area we need to work on in the future. If you like, I can go back to that slide that you saw on October 19th.
Sure, I think that'd be helpful.
Okay, it's slide 30. So this slide is based on projections and forecasting what our expenses, what our grant revenue will be, what we anticipate for future purchases in our capital program, and what we typically have done in the past. And so when we look at this, you can see that in 2026, it drops down below the line. And we know we will need to work on our contribution to reserves or our priorities for the capital program in order to better support this, to make sure that we're not depleting our reserves.
So, Ms. McDonald, just to give context to this graph, if somebody sees that, it's pretty shocking to see how far down goes, but I think it speaks to the very aggressive capital plan that we have undertaken this year and next year in terms of our sanitary sewer flood concerns in the community, in addition to the multiplex YCE project. That's all contributing to the decrease in our reserve funds, correct?
Thank you for the question, Mayor. And yes, we have an aggressive approach to our capital program. And I certainly don't want to give off the impression it's all doom and gloom, because there's a number of revenue levers we can pull, such as grants, in order to support some programs going forward, as well as the focus for 2025 will be on looking at our services and seeing if we can make them more efficient, looking at our revenues for those services to make sure that they're accurate, and building in effective increases to support the costs in those service level areas.
Council, any further questions? Go ahead.
Slide 43. I have provided council with a copy of the reserves spreadsheet. As I recognize, this is small to see on the screen. For consistency, this is our reserves in accordance with the new reserve policy approved in October. The 2023 reserve balances have been restated to reflect the new policy for transparency and for ease of understanding the work plan here. This shows the budgeted contributions to and from each reserve for the 5 years and the expected balance for each reserve in the gray lines, the gray columns. There are some negative balances that will be addressed at year end of 2024 and or future budgets. There are operational reserves are generally used as a funding source to mitigate the impact of fluctuations in operating costs and revenue reductions over municipal budgeting cycles. Reserves help to eliminate fluctuating tax rates, resulting in a more horizontal tax rate with an incline for inflation. And it's using consistent language from our reserves policy so that it's repeated and we get a better feel for the policy itself as we move forward, looking for that consistency in language. The next slide is our operating reserves, capital reserves. Capital reserves can you move to the next slide? Our capital reserves are established to assist in funding capital replacements, long-term capital programs in accordance with the new policy. Again, there are some negative balances that administration plans to address at 2024 year end or future budgets. What is important to note here is while administration is working on proposing the capital program for 25, we will continue to improve the capital programs for return to council during the spring adjustments. for the future years. As a result, 26, 27, and 28 contributions from reserves for capital programs are underreported at this time, showing a more positive balance than expected on the reserve graph that you saw earlier where it dipped below the line. That graph is based on forecasts, whereas here it was difficult to say which reserve are we going to use if we haven't prioritized our capital programs for 26, 27, and 28. So it was I was unable to forecast it in those areas. Slide 45 shows our other and restricted reserves in accordance with our new policy. The major capital reserve for the YCE multiplex was budgeted for in 2024. So you can see it's in the middle, major capital YCE multiplex. The full amount was budgeted. This is a typical way to budget when a major capital is first introduced. The funds will not be spent in 2024, and administration has introduced in the 2025 budget to spread those costs over multiple years based on expected phases in the construction. However, I cannot go back and change the 2024 budget to reflect this. So you'll see it in our capital plans a little bit later on. Restricted reserve funds are established by the province, municipal legislation, and only can be used for their prescribed purposes. Negative balances listed here reflect that the town has fronted development costs that are expected to be returned through future development or lot sales. Administration plans to work on off-site levy bylaw in 2026, where this will be reviewed. The bottom line shows that our total reserves, as restated for 2023, then budgeted to and from for 2024, and the expected balance for 2024 of 14 million. Then we have total contributions to and from budgeted for 25 and the expected balance for 2025. As indicated earlier, the contributions from in the subsequent years do not include allocations to our multi-year capital plan. However, we are committed to bringing the multi-year plan back for spring adjustment process. The next slide, unless there's questions.
I do have a question, Ms. McDonald. So just looking at the revenue sharing agreement reserve, I noticed there's no contributions for 2025, 2026, 2027. Is there a reason why that is, since we have a long-standing agreement? We just signed a 10-year agreement with Yoatt County, and that provides us with significant revenue to fund that reserve.
Thank you for the question. So revenue sharing agreement goes into the operating, and the reserve itself has a revolving 5-year average, revolving 3-year average of the agreement that we can hold at one time in the reserve. Right now, it's overstated, but we do know that we are drawing considerable amount of funds out of the reserve for 2025. But we need to keep that optimal balance in focus. We do not put the whole amount into reserve. It goes to operations, and then we make sure that the reserve is allocated properly.
Okay, thank you very much.
The next slide will be 48. Oh, sorry, I skipped one, 46. This slide shows the adjusted capital projects subsequent to the council budget workshop, and shows that our capital projects are now at $42,086,075. We've adjusted the debenture so that the debenture totals are $2,375,000. And there is $9 million still provided for council consideration. That $9 million has not been allocated to future years at this point, but it will have to be done at a later date and brought back in spring adjustments if council is not changing those items. Then the next slide is slide 48, which shows that we've updated the existing and new debt projections. In addition, we've improved to show more detail on the individual projects by stacking it to provide a better visual for you. The next slide shows our debt payment projections that we've also made improvements to this to show more reflection of how it's contributing to our debt payments, as well as we updated it to reflect council's direction on the fire truck.
Ms. McDonald, just on that, so the debt payments in 2025 have been already allocated in the budget as a part of that increase, correct?
Have we included the debt payments? I think, thank you for the question, and I have to think it through my head, but what has been included for debt payments in the future is only the YCE multiplex. Typically, when we've applied for debt, there's a 6-month delay. So we would apply for if we are approved with this budget, we would apply for the debt likely in the last quarter of the year. December 15th is when the draw would be, and then the following debt payment would fall into the future year. So it doesn't impact your first year, it impacts your second year, and they're biannual payments. So no, we have not included that, and that's something that we'll have to improve going forward, but it doesn't affect 25.
Oh, so that won't, okay, perfect. Thank you for that clarification. That'll be a issue for 2026. All right, thank you. Any other questions before Ms. McDonald continues? Continue on.
50. So this graph shows our capital projects by fund, department, and funding source. We're proposing 37.3 million in taxation projects, 4.7 in utility projects. The project distribution is as follows. Recreation, parks, and culture is at 67%, transportation is at 14%, and protective services is at 6.6% of the total capital budget. Funding sources proposed, social programs and services is the public transportation and cemetery projects. That's what's included in that 430,000. Funding sources proposed, we have 22.3 million in grants that we will support the projects with, 2.375 debenture, which is new debt, 8.9 million from reserves. Noting that the new contribution to reserves for 25 is 3.2 million, so we're already spending more than we're putting in this year. 8.4 other sources for Township Road 532, contribution from other property owners and other local governments on the YCE multiplex. The next slide shows our 5-year capital plan by department. Here you can see the cash flowing of the YCE multiplex in 25, 26, and 27. This is a better way to budget for a major capital project in that we're not planning to spend all the money, all the reserve funds in one particular year. It will be spread over the 3 years. The future years need further review from the SLT team to plan priorities for all municipal facilities and capital work and prioritize the below-the-line projects into the future. These figures are budget estimates and subject to change and being updated. However, it does give us a baseline of future capital work, and administration will work on the 5-year plan and bring it back, as I said earlier, to spring adjustments. Slide 52 is our capital budget highlights. So staff presented capital budgets to senior leadership team totaling $110 million. for 2025. This list included the 24 capital projects carried forward into 2025. The leadership team evaluated and revised the list to 41.6 million of the funded capital projects to propose to council, and a list for council's consideration of 9,456,000 of unfunded projects. Council reviews this list and presented and revised a new list of $42,086,075 and an unfunded projects list of $9,010,000. The remaining projects will be deferred in future years. I will skip the detail of each department and go right to the impact of the residential municipal tax rate. So we, as I mentioned in October 19th, this will not change what we're proposing for a tax impact on the resident. So residential property, we've looked at 3 different properties, $25,000 assessment house, $350,000 assessment house, and a $450,000 assessment house. The impact on the residents on each of those respectively would be $6 a month on the first one, $8 a month, and $10,000 on the higher home.
10,000.
What did I say?
$10.
Few zeros between friends. I apologize.
My heart just skipped a beat.
Well then, thank you for all listening. Okay, I apologize. $10 per month. Non-residential is the next slide, and so again, we've looked at 3 different property values. A $500,000 assessment would increase $12 a month. $1,500,000 increases by $34 a month, and $2 million assessment increases by $46 per month. Is there a question?
I was just trying to figure out what page you were on.
Oh, I'm sorry.
75, that's what I'm trying to figure out, thank you.
Okay, then the next slide shows our utility fees for the residential properties. So we've broken this into 3 categories: a low consumer, medium consumer, and a higher consumer. Low-end consumer would experience $6.10 a month. Medium consumer would see approximately $12 a month, and a higher-end consumer would see $25.50 a month. And that's based on average increase of 5% across the municipal service fees. The next slide shows our non-residential. So our non-residential, a lower consumer is a retail store or office building. A low-end consumer is a retail store or office building. A medium consumer is a restaurant or a small grocery store. A high-end consumer is an industrial, car wash, hospital, or hotel, to which we determine had an average consumption of 850 meters cubed. And that would result in an increase reflected on the graph. For a low-end consumer would have $6 per month. A medium consumer would have $32, approximately $33 per month, and a higher consumption user would have $332 per month increase. Then if we could go to slide 77. I believe council would like to move into closed session to speak to the Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act.
Thank you, Ms. McDonald. Can I get a motion to move into closed session, please? Go ahead, Councillor Chachka.
I move to move into closed session as per the FOIP Act.
Section 17, please.
Section 17, thank you.
Thank you. All those in favor? Motion carried. All right, thank you, everyone, for the discussion. We will continue on with Ms. McDonald. If you just want to cue your mic there, Ms. McDonald.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So at this point, let's go to slide 79. This is Council's opportunity to provide direction on the 4% municipal tax levy increase, the tax user fee rate increase of 3%, the utility rate average of 5%, and move or adjust the 2025 capital projects. Keeping in mind council direction needs to be in a motion. And before you, the motions are what we would need to A, make changes, B, approve the budget with those numbers, and then thirdly, approve in principle, the operating budget plan for 26 to 28 and the 5-year capital plan as presented in principle.
All right, thank you, Ms. McDonald. Do we have any questions for Ms. McDonald before I start asking for motions? Councilor
Tired. Through the mayor to administration. I just have a question just regarding the ladder truck. And I know we're going back a little bit, if I can do this. In the capital, it's 2.7 million. And obviously big ask, and I'm not against the ladder truck. Just curious about the idea of purchasing new to purchasing used and things like that. If there's possibility, like, is when we say 2.7, are we looking then for a truck around 2.7, or are there opportunities to look for, like, I hate to say used, I hate to say that, but something, well, I guess used is the term. I think other municipalities have done that. And again, not against the ladder truck. It's a necessity in I could see it being a necessity. It's just, it's a big ask, and it was certainly, I think Mayor Zahara said it right at the workshop. It kind of caught us off guard when the ask came in. And I just a further explanation about whether or not those things will be explored in that process.
So I'll ask Chief Milton to come up to the desk here if you want to take a seat over there, just so you're, and if you want to respond to that, Chief Milton.
Thank you, Council, and through the chair to Councilor Taylor. As a fire department looking at this vehicle and this ladder truck, it would be us looking at all viable options, right? Whether it's used, whether it's new. Again, that price when we discussed at the budget workshop, that price for a ladder truck, I mean, we're looking at the kind of that mid-range, right? There's ladder trucks that go upwards of 3.8 million, right? Obviously, we're not trying to buy something that is going to be over what we need for our operations here in the town, right? So obviously, we're going to explore every single option, whether that's used, new, and anything else. So, yep.
Just further to, is anybody else have any other questions on this? Councillor Pasechny, before I make my comment, if you want to queue up.
Yeah, through the mayor to Chief Milton. Risks on purchasing a used aerial versus a new aerial?
Yes, correct. Thank you. And through the chair to Councillor Pasechny. There are obviously risks buying a used vehicle. Obviously, anything, we all know that buying a used vehicle, we don't know if it was driven like a race car or if it was, treated like a sports car, right? That's the thing with this is the other aspect is what are we buying? If we're buying a used, sometimes they do come out of the U.S. When we look at a vehicle coming out of the U.S., does it have an Arctic package in it? So that provides heating to our pump system so that we don't have freeze-ups, right? Driving an engine or any of our fire trucks have heating units built into the pumps so that they don't freeze up while we're driving to an emergency, right? So that could be an additional piece that we would have to add if we're buying a used vehicle out of the States, for example, or a used fire truck if it's not equipped with that already. So there is risks to it. Obviously, there's testing that we have to do, acceptance testing, and then there's also brokerage fees, so on and so forth when you're looking at purchasing used if you're buying out of the States or versus buying out of Canada. So.
Councillor Taylor?
Yeah, through the mayor. Well, thank you for the thorough answer. And certainly, I'm not looking at like cheaping out or anything, right? I guess I just look for bang for your buck, right? And that's all I think anybody really wants. You want a truck that's going to work, have longevity to it, and meet our needs. And just bang for our buck. But
Correct. And through the chair to all the council, the other aspect to look at that is that what we're paying for a used vehicle versus the time that it's still good for. If we buy a 10-year-old used vehicle, within 10 years, I'm back looking for another ladder truck, right? So, or another vehicle that to replace that one because it's reached end of life. So
I look forward to hearing updates throughout the year. But thank
sounds
you.
good. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Milton. We've had a lot of discussion on this last budget workshop. I know a lot of people may not have caught the discussion on that, but I think it's important to note that you are actually replacing one of the units will be still stationed at the fire hall, but won't be a frontline vehicle. So I think now is the opportune time to do that. I would not be in favor of used frontline fire engine and emergency services, considering the fire risk we have around our community, unless it was like a demo unit or something that was very gently used. So I still struggle with the amount, and I still struggle with borrowing for it, but I think that our municipality has a lot of high value assets that are right now, I think, underprotected if something does happen. And I think this will put us in a much better position to protect those assets, which is actually a financial liability for this municipality if we lose those assets, as they are major tax revenue generators for our community. So thank you, Chief Milton. Any other further questions before we start taking motions? Is there anything you want to close with, CO Beverage, or are you good?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would say that I guess I would want to leave council with the understanding of the efforts that go into this budget, and for council's consideration, each and every item has been evaluated and not brought for council's consideration lightly. I think that as we have navigated through many budgets together, they've all been different, and I wanted to address that as well. As we learn more, as we grow as an organization, understanding of how we position ourselves financially is something that is very important, and as we speak about it within our strategic plan. And it's so much more than that. It affects absolutely everything for our residents of the community as well, and as far as the services that we're aiming to provide, continuous improvement upon those services as well, and that's noted within this budget as well. So, this is maintaining the service levels. This is adding a few additional services and pieces that we think would bring value and to the residents of the community. And I have to commend administration from everywhere, from our administrative staff all the way to our GMs and everywhere in between, as far as contributing towards this budget that you have before you to consider. So thank you.
All right, thank you. Any further questions, comments? So first of all, I'll ask council, is there any changes, any motions that council wants to make to this budget? Go ahead, Councillor Chachka.
Through the chair to to council, I'm not sure who. So point of clarity, I'm not sure how to say the motion. I know what I want, but okay, hear me out. Okay. You'll get why I'm hesitant with having the proper clarity. So I move that council reinstates the ladder truck loan and redirects the 1.5 million to the general government capital reserve.
Oh boy. CO Beverage or Ms. Veerboom, I don't know if she's online. Okay, CO Beverage.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There was a motion passed with regards to the ladder truck, which regards to dedicating the funding to the energy reserve. In order to address that motion, it would have to be a motion of reconsideration, which in turn is something that would have to be dealt with through a notice of motion, which is not possible during a special meeting, which this is what this is. The motion had to be reconsidered, would have had to have been done at that particular meeting, to be, for ease of, it's not impossible, but at this point in time, at this juncture, with this meeting being the type, it's not possible to amend that motion or to reconsider that motion.
Okay, CO Beverage, can we do a motion to rescind? Is that a thing? I don't have my, go ahead, CO Beverage.
Mr. Mayor, I'm going to ask for a recess. I need more time.
Sure. We are going to take a 5-minute recess. Are we good to go? All right, thank you, Council. We just took a moment to break here just to understand, making sure that we are following appropriate process. Councillor Chachka wanted to put forward a motion to make an adjustment to one of the items in the budget, and this is a special meeting of council. Upon discussions with administration, I think to accomplish what you're trying to do, Councillor Chachka, is that we would need a motion to do this as cleanly and easiest as possible, to direct motion to direct administration to bring back alternative funding sources for the ladder truck as a part of the adjustments in the spring. Is that, did I encompass that correctly, CO Beverage?
Mr. Mayor, I would recommend not, in the event that there's an opportunity with a ladder truck, as we've discussed, I would wonder about including it in the spring adjustments, that it be brought forward in advance of the spring adjustments in order to make sure that we address that.
Do you want to take a moment to write that down before you make your motion? Do we have Ms. Veerboom on the line? Or she can't? Yeah, okay. You want to go ahead, CO Beverage?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's just hard with the way we have it set up technically tonight. That council direct administration to bring alternative funding sources for the ladder truck in advance of the spring adjustments.
Councillor Chachka, would you like to make that motion? Oh. Go ahead.
Yes, I would like to make that motion.
All right, so we have a motion on the floor to bring back, for administration, bring back adjustments ahead of the, bring back, see, I'm gonna confuse this, never mind, I'm not gonna, I rescind what I was just saying. Council, do we have any discussion, debate on this motion?
What was that first part?
Do you want to speak to it more?
I would love
Okay.
to speak to it.
Go ahead.
Okay. All right, thank you. Through the chair to council and administration. So since the budget workshop and this lovely reserve policy paper, I've had a bit of time to think about how we've funded the ladder truck, and I guess it caught me off guard that, you know, we were taking a loan out for it. And as someone who is, I'm not, I don't enjoy debt. I don't like being in debt, and I don't generally look at it as a favorable thing for most things. But I do realize that a municipality is a lot different than, you know, like personal debt. And something that I dislike more than debt is not having the opportunity to have, I'll say, emergent type funds available when things come up. And we've seen that. I think every year I've been on council, we've seen emergent things come up. Just recently, we saw pictures of pipes cut with other pipes going through them. And sometimes there's efficiencies if we are able to utilize funds that were not maybe pre-delegated for something else, especially within our 5-year capital plan, to access that and finish a job faster, more efficient, and without, and even cheaper, sometimes cheaper. So I think it's important that we have some funds set aside for something like that that aren't already allocated in our 5-year plan. So that's my thought process behind this.
Thank you. Council, any questions, debates? Go ahead, Councillor Chenard.
Through the chair to Councillor Chechka, I like your thought process. So with this motion moving forward, we'll be able to discuss where the money's going, et cetera, then. So we have an opportunity later. So if all we're doing is doing, okay, then I'm in favor of what you're doing.
Thank you. Ms. McDonald, did you have something you wanted to add?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to speak to the reserve policy. There is a reserve for resiliency that we have on the books. It is called, yes, resiliency on the other area on the close to the bottom. And that is designed, the policy states that would be for shortfalls or emergent items, budgeted items that we hadn't anticipated a shortfall for, or unexpected increase in costs could be covered under the resiliency, as well as snow removal, unanticipated additional snow removal or floods or whatever. We've included that in the other category.
Thank you, Councillor Pisichny.
Yeah, through the mayor to council. It was clear the first time I wasn't happy with the energy reserve being used to buy a fire truck. I'll be supporting this motion because I still disagreed with that that decision, as the energy reserve should be used for energy projects. And the only reason there's lots of money in that account is because we only done an energy project this year, as opposed to all the previous years that we weren't doing any of that. So, because it's derived out of our franchise fees, and I feel it should stay to that. So I'm going to support this motion just because I disagreed with it the first time. So I'm speaking in favor of it.
Councillor Taylor.
Through the mayor to council, I support the motion as well. I think I've been given some more thought in terms of the debt load that a municipality can take, and it is, and Councillor Chachka, it is different than personal debt. The difference is governments don't retire at the end of the day, right? There is too much debt that a municipality can take on. If you look at our municipality, we really haven't taken on much, really, right? Just question to administration when we do talk, and this is somewhat related, just when we talk about taking debentures out in the future, they will have to be done via borrowing bylaws, correct? And not all done. Is there opportunities for them to be ever challenged in terms of that? There is, okay.
Go ahead, Ms. McDonald.
Thank you for the question, Councillor Taylor. Debenture, when a municipality plans to use a debenture to fund a capital project, we're required to create a debenture bylaw, and we give it first reading, and then we have to advertise a notice to electors in the paper for 2 consecutive weeks, and then wait a certain period, I believe it's 10 days, before it comes back for second and third reading, and then wait another 30 days for the bylaw to be valid. So when we put the notice to electors in, a petition can come in and say, we don't want the municipality to debenture that. And so it follows the petitioning rules, which is difficult to achieve. However, it does provide information if the community speaks against it. The council should really take that into consideration in your discussions.
Councillor Pisichny.
Yeah, through the mayor to Ms. McDonald. Have the petition rules changed? At one time, if it was debenture was less than 5 years, you couldn't petition it. Is that still the same, or has that changed?
I wasn't aware of that rule in the past, but in my experience, the MGA says it is notice to electors, can allow them to petition it. And certainly I can provide the advertising requirements for a debenture bylaw to council if you want to read that advertising. It's quite a lengthy advertisement.
All right, thank you, Ms. McDonald. As we have nobody else queued up, Councillor Moore.
Through the chair to Councillor Chachka. So this would be from resiliency, would it? And what portion of that would it be, or would it be at all?
We're not talking about moving anything at this point in time. This is for administration to bring
Okay.
back
Thank you.
alternatives.
Thank you.
Good thought. All right. Any other questions, comments? So nothing will change with this budget until administration brings back some information to us prior to us making the spring adjustments. I have had the opportunity to think about this as well. I stand by my position. Last meeting is that I'm really challenged with borrowing for a fire truck. I am certainly okay with borrowing for underground infrastructure, road infrastructure, various other things. And I also think that removing the 1.5 million out of the energy reserve is probably not the best idea. And so I've given that sober second thought as well. So I am in support of this motion. I look forward to seeing what administration can bring back. Obviously things will be changing in the spring anyway. I think we do need to move forward with this purchase. As for the funding sources, we can, I think, get those details worked out a little bit more concretely in the spring. So if there's no other further questions, comments, I will call the question. All those in favor? That motion is carried unanimously. Anything else coming out of left field for us this evening? Councillor Chachka? Nobody? I will take a motion that council approve the 2025 operating budget with a total operating revenue of $26,731,348 with operating expenditures of $40,538,945 $30,301, resulting in municipal taxation levy requirements of $13,486,132, excluding amortization of $4.970582 million, and the 2025 capital budget, which has a total capital revenues of $42,086,075 to support total costs of $42,086,075. Go ahead, Councillor Taylor.
I so move.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor, and we will open up debate. Any debate on this? We've discussed this a lot. I realize that we are in an atmosphere of extreme pressures for our community, for residents, not only in Edson, but throughout Canada right now, and people are struggling. And we talk about that a lot around this table. We have a lot of pressures as a municipality. We are paying a provincial portion of municipal taxes because they fail to pay their provincial taxes, which impacts this budget. We have huge inflationary costs with a number of different budget areas, and we have a number of areas that we're trying to address in this budget to build capacity within our organization, to better plan for the future of this municipality. And we have gone without for many, many years in the town of Edson as a municipal organization. And unfortunately, all this is coming to a head. So to accomplish everything that we are going to accomplish with a 4% increase, I think is very reasonable at this point in time. I think the data that we've seen shows that a number of our user fees in other areas are way lower than other municipalities. There will be spring adjustments. Some of these numbers may adjust in the spring, but I think that the work, the tremendous work that has happened behind the scenes over the last number of months to build this budget, from our finance team to senior administration to the lowest levels of this organization, has been tremendous. And we've had some pretty frank and open discussions about this throughout this process. So I'm in favor of moving forward with this budget. It is, I will admit, higher than I had hoped, but considering the pressures that we are under as a municipality, I think it's ensuring that we are dealing with the needs of today and planning for the future of tomorrow. So with that, if there's no other questions, comments, or concerns, I will call the question. All those in favor? That motion is carried unanimously. And can I get a motion, please, that council approve in principle the operating budget plan for 2026 through 2028 and the 5-year capital plan as presented? Go ahead, Councillor Bevan.
I'll make it so.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion carried. Thank you, everyone, for your attention this evening, and I will adjourn this meeting at 9:38.